What's up, guys? Welcome back to F4A. I got an episode of Anime Breakdown here for you here today. I'm going to be reviewing an animated movie called Dante's Inferno. It's based off of the same game that came in the early 2000s, Dante's Inferno. I played the game, I watched the movie. I can tell you there are some small differences in the movie, and the cool thing about this movie is that it's actually animated by 4 different companies. So as the movie progresses and everything, the storyline's the same thing, the characters are still the same and everything, but the animation for each segment, I guess you could say, is actually different at each time, and it actually is pretty cool in my opinion. Personally, I like the 3rd segment, but that's me. If you watch this, go check it out yourself. And now let's talk about the story. The story is based off of a Italian mercenary who's goes on the 3rd crusade, and he makes a promise to his fiancée to stay faithful to her. He won't engage in any type of adultery or anything like that, or anything stuff like that. He will, and then when he gets home to her, they will finally be married. They'll have children. They'll finally live their happy little life. His fiancée Beatrice makes a Faustian agreement with Lucifer. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a deal with the devil. In exchange for something, you give him your soul. And in her case, she made a deal with Lucifer, essentially, to have Dante come back safely from the Crusades. And it's kind of, the movie, though, doesn't focus on super much. It's more just, it's Dante's, right when he gets home, it's essentially, he goes straight to hell because Lucifer's come for his prize, essentially, which is Beatrice's soul. And basically he goes literally to hell and goes through the 9 circles of hell, which is, off the top of my head, greed, lust, envy, and so forth. But he goes through every single circle and encounters characters from history, which in some cases it's Charon, the master of the ships and everything, and who ships the damned souls to hell. And it's interesting how he looks out too, because he's a boat master and such, and it's interesting how he's the farrier for the souls of hell. And they also have King Midas, who's the judge of the dead, essentially, or the judge of the damned, who decides essentially where each soul is going to go to in the circles of hell. And it's interesting just seeing how he judges them. Essentially, he just takes a whiff of them and figures out which one is the worst and which one he's going to specifically. And it's a little interesting too on the animation of how each circle is depicted essentially. Obviously for gluttony, they're eating, and because they can never be full. For greed, they're trying to take all this wealth essentially that they can't have. For lust, there's a very creepy, twisted version of it, and in my opinion, that was nope. In my opinion, this animated movie, like I said, it's based off of a game, which is based off of the Divine Comedy book, which came out in the 14th century, and there's some subtle differences between the two because I watched the movie, I played the game when it came out, and it's not a bad game. The only I want to say some differences in it is the way Dante gets his weapon, which is essentially a scythe. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a weapon that the Grim Reaper uses. And in the game, Dante is killed, and he's told by the Grim Reaper himself, "You're going to hell for your sins," even though Dante thinks he was absolved of his sins, according to a bishop. But turns out the bishop lied. Bishops in the 14th century lie. They did that a lot back then. Now, Dante gets his weapon from the Grim Reaper himself. He takes his scythe and he goes straight back to Italy and leaves the crusade. And then afterward, but in the movie, Dante gets his scythe from just essentially a demon, and he's apparently a natural with this weapon too. It's kind of interesting and kind of crazy looking at the fighting styles that he uses and what he does to actually get destroy or kill the demons again, or monsters, or which have you. It's interesting too seeing real historical characters essentially, or historical figures, is seeing in this series, such as Caesar, Saladin, and other noble pagans, as they're called in some cases in one of the circles. They essentially did noble deeds, but they denounced Christianity. So essentially, this is a Christian hell, or a Christian version of hell. Now, Dante is voiced by Graham McTavish. For those of you that don't know, he was in this, and he was in this. Not bad roles, very noticeable. You can definitely notice who this guy is if you look at him, if you look at the character, and you can tell too, like you can kind of hear it in his voice, but in some cases, just whoa, that's him. But keep in mind, this was made in the early 2000s. He was a younger man. Overall, though, this movie, it's not bad. It's worth watching. It does have some gruesome brutality portions of it. Even if you're not religious, it's overall not bad of a movie. It's worth watching, maybe once or so, but I think you guys should go check it out. It's called Dante's Inferno. It's on Amazon right now. I watched it. It's only about 88 minutes long, and I think you should check it out. Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. See you.